Here we go. On the ice and on the snow. Marching for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, electricians, daycare workers, those changing diapers in the daycares, and the truckers, the welders, the butchers, construction workers, those flipping some hamburgers, cheeseburgers, those of course involved in the production, distribution of food. There's some icicles there. And in my neighborhood, the storm wasn't that bad, but as you can see, there's still icy patches around, and decided to go for a march today because of course I had rested yesterday because it was a stormy day and things got canceled. A lot of things got canceled. Schools and institutions. I was supposed to do some community service and some volunteering, do some work. My work got canceled, but I always work independently, 24/7 geopolitics, sports and fitness. Rock and roll, geopolitics, sports and fitness, geopolitics, rock and roll, sports and fitness with yours truly. And it's less in my neighborhood, at least, because I gotta say that in other parts of Montreal they did lose power, but as you can see, there is ice. Was like an ice storm, and it was supposed to be really, really bad. I guess it wasn't that bad as the prediction went. And is the sun shining? Should we go towards the sun there? I guess it's bursting in and out of the clouds. I see my Publik King trying to get a little bit of that sunshine. Maybe once we reach over there, we're going to get some more. But here we are. I got to commence with my gratitude and grateful, thankful, although financially stressed. Was a bit moody earlier. My rent's paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid my phone. I still got to pay the phone bill and watch the branches. So you can see that branch is about to drop out, and another big branch there. So as you can see, there's falling branches here, so I gotta be careful myself. Like this one, see, it fell from the top, and this one can harm somebody, can harm me or anybody else. So you gotta be careful, just be prudent. The trees, with the extra added layer of on them, there's falling branches everywhere, so just a little bit of caution and prudence is on the menu. It snowed for like 3.5 minutes. There was an intense snowstorm, actually, just intense out of nowhere. 3.5 minutes of intense snowstorm. It was pretty intense. As you can see, there's ice. The trees, they got ice on them because it was an ice storm today and yesterday. Earlier today, kind of stopped, and then it's kind of snowing, and I guess the sun kind of bursting for the last hour because sunset is after 6 because we changed the times. It's forward time, spring forward time, and Sunday. So it's been a few days with that. So yesterday I rested, I meditated, I did work out a bit. I did the video, of course, and today I decided to do my minimum 4 hours, because Monday I went to do the laundry for my anonymous friend, and Tuesday I went to do laundry for me, so that took a few hours. Work, about 6 hours of work with that. And it's always for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, the plumbers, and all those involved, in the production, distribution of food. And we gotta be mindful, to not leave trash sometimes, Sometimes it's important not to leave trash and garbage and stuff like that, and because it might pollute, it might be dangerous for the animals to put it in the trash. There you got the trash bin, Oh yeah, the sun is shining, so you got a trash bin right there, and you can just discard your things that you have to discard in the trash. It's where they belong after all. So do the diligence and do the action, because I can discuss and discourse, but ultimately it also requires action. Quite beautiful, I gotta say. I find it beautiful with the icicles here, It's kind of enchanted land here in the parallel to civilization, and you're advised to not go over that way because it's during the winter, it's sliding and you can harm yourself. So just to stay on the main road here, during spring, maybe in a few months, and be able to go by the side, or during the summer and autumn, but during the winter it's not advisable to go over that side because there are trails there, right? There's trails, that's why you should stay like on this side where I'm staying. But look at those beauties, aren't they just beautiful and gorgeous, full of ice, and they're reddish, red, R-E-D, what I said. Gotta rock and roll it, you know how I hold it. Look at this beautiful. Isn't this just gorgeous? I'm glad I took this route. Oh, this is amazing. Mother Nature, look, it created the storm created it uprooted it. It did uproot, see? Came out of the roots. But look at the beautifulness of it, so I'm not going to touch it because Mother Nature heals sometimes. It might heal and just redress. I'll see in the coming days, weeks. I'll see if it stands. If not, for now, I'm not going to touch it. I'm going to leave it there because it's a beauty. But if not, during spring, maybe some people come and take care of the place here. But that was just gorgeous, I guess. I've been through my own storms, depressed, suicidal. I'm celebrating 6 years today, since I survived COVID. Around this time, I was really sick. Till about mid-March, I was really sick. So I had COVID in between mid-February till about the 19th, 20th of March, in between that period of time. And around this time in 2020, I was really sick. I thought I was going to die. Look at this beautiful also. I thought I was going to die. Wow, the storm really creates beauties, with the ice. And see how it is so nice. And you can come in the enchanted, even the crows agree, Yep, and see, look at these beautiful reds. I'm glad I came. It's something that it's a once-in-a-lifetime sometimes opportunity to see it post an ice storm like that. Although, like I said, it wasn't that bad in my neighborhood. We didn't lose power. And send a shout-out to Hydro-Quebec workers. Look at this beauty. This is gorgeous. I love. Just so much beauty it created, the storm, And 6 years ago, I can't believe it's been 6 years already. I remember my anonymous friend was preparing hot liquids, hot teas, and with some medicaments, kind of homeopathic, basically more honey from the bees and teas and compresses and stuff like that, and it kind of worked as I survived. I thought I was going to die, of COVID in 2020. I said, oh, that's it. In many ways, I did die right on here on this island. I'm being reborn, and nothing that I will to go back to, because I don't have nostalgia or sentiments like that. I have financial stress, and I'm a bit, and craving a massage therapy sessions and all that. Once, twice a week would be great. 3 times would be heavens, because I live a very active lifestyle, but I got the cream, and we could trade that. If you gotta be 18 plus, though, you gotta be 18 plus. I'm always open for friends with benefits. Gonna card you, 18 plus. Just like when you go buy liquor, booze, you gotta be 18 plus, Because if you're not 18 plus, we don't play with that game, and you gotta be of age, adult age. And if you're black or white or a man or a woman, I'm part of the LGBTQ community. I am androgynous pansexual, and play that my fellow gay brothers and sisters, lesbians and bisexuals, pansexual. I've been in the open for years and years and years. I don't hide it. I never kind of did, and I don't know about childhood or youth or adolescence because I do have trouble remembering my life. Personal life events before 2014, January, February 2014, late 2013. Look at that beautiful red. October, November 2013. That's a long time ago, more than 12 years ago. So I have a very good memory of the past 11 years. 11 years and like 11 months. I lived in that moldy place there. I discuss it sometimes, and it's kind of like a horror movie remembering that life there, to be honest, because in many ways I did die there. I didn't even have a bathtub. It's like a prison cell. I guess I served my time in, and I did some good deeds, actions, especially the intervention, which saved lives, potentially hundreds of lives. I'm referring to the Special Independent Citizen Security Intervention, which I discussed in my videos of 2026 and other smaller ones, and some acts of goodness and kindness. While I'm not perfect, I don't make pretense. I always encourage all to work out, train, exercise. I've been on the fitness journey. I was depressed and suicidal for a few years, and right now, I look at the majesty of the trees compared to how small I am. I gotta reflect that the hawks and birds and crows, which I love the crows and the hawks and the birds, and fly above me, so gotta nullify a little bit of that ego, although I do have Asperger's, and that is something which I will always have. I'll always be different because I live on the spectrum, so yeah, lots to celebrate. Actually, I live carpe diem it every day since I died of COVID, and I have a retrograde amnesia. It's a form where personal life memories, I just have blackouts. It's like flashes of blackouts. I can't trouble remembering my life prior to 2014. I lived in a moldy place, but it doesn't really matter really, because I don't have nostalgia or anything in that manner. That I live for today, with my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom. Pledge your allegiance to our family. Support the independent, androgynous, pansexual, Aspiesque artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical, theoretical, analyst, and theorist. And we're gonna rock and roll with that. And that's just what we have, of course, to sublimate and to acknowledge, all the gratitude which I gotta express is my friend is supposed to cook something after my workout. Long march today. Not the longest, but I'm gonna give my minimum of 4 hours, and I'm gonna have some good dinner. She cooks great. If I make $1 million, I'm gonna give her half of $1 million, $1 billion, and I'm gonna give her a shout out for giving me a book called. Actually, that book, which I recommend first and foremost, was loaned a few times from the library. It's called Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome. And also, after Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome, I also recommend Teaching Asperger's Students Social Skills Through Acting All Their World as a Stage. Teaching Asperger's students social skills through acting all their world is a stage. I know that is a long title, eh? Look at the beautiful red. My favorite color here, eh? Just gorgeous Mother Nature. I'm glad I decided, because I was gonna go in the urban jungle, as I do love my city, Montreal Island of the Hawk, and I gotta say it's been 7 years, since I even have not left the island. I'm not gonna say I'm stuck here, because it's my home, in this life and in another life. I do believe in reincarnations. I'm a mystic, and I lived in the United States 3 times post 70-76. Once I was born as a woman, twice as a man, served in the same United States Armed Forces twice, and the wars that I served in were 156 years apart, and now my theories, protocols for the creation, formation of the joint fusion thereof, Canada and United States into the compromise public-private partnership. For years and years and years, I've been calling for the creation of the SSD, Legion, Security Service and Defense, aka the Dragon Army, as a mass public-private partnership, as a mass public-private partnership across the North American Collective, and of course all that co-representation and co-equivalence of what it is that we are now to be related to and infused in the integral manner of. I don't want to be too scholarly or academic, because I certainly am a philosopher and a scholar, and of geopolitics is my special interest. If you don't know what special interests are for Aspiesque people like myself who live on the spectrum of autism, I have ASD level 1, autism spectrum disorder. ASD level 1, autism spectrum disorder. And of course, autism spectrum disorder is the same as HFA, high functioning autism, is basically ASD level 1, and Asperger's. And these two, high functioning autism and Asperger's, merged, fused around 2013, 2014. Think about it like two twins with one body who have like two heads, two faces with one body, because they merged, fused. So when I use interchangeably both, and the one or the other are the same. So basically I am on the spectrum, but a milder form of autism, or I call it a divergent form of autism, because I still use the word Asperger's. So I'm an Aspie, meaning I have Asperger's, I have ASD level 1. These have to be recycled. See, that's why we need the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army. And don't leave it here, please put it. No, these are not going in the trash, they're going into recycling. There's a recycling further there, but look how beautiful it is. Hey, the icicles, Mother Nature. So we're gonna recycle them further there, but I'm just because they're a bit dirty, I'm just gonna put them by the side here and just gonna clear them a bit. There we go, because they have some ice on them, and now they're ready to be put in the recycling. I'm gonna check what it is, and I guess the microbes died because it was ice on them, so that's why I took them, because it's also dangerous if people with children gonna come here during the spring, and they can damage their hands there. So it's another intervention. I guess it adds to my surviving my karma, because I died during COVID, and I died in a vicious. I survived a vicious surprise attack years and years ago. It's called, it's a seltzer, black cherry. I don't drink much myself. It's 5%. 5%? That's not a lot of alcohol. That's like a beer. Black cherry. I would like to try it, but I don't drink much. I don't know if before 2014, late 2013, I don't know, maybe I was a junkie when I lived in that moldy place. I did not even have a bathtub there, but sometimes I say, was I a junkie? Was I doing drugs? Was I, because I have these flashbacks and PTSD, I guess. I was sometimes on the ground and being kicked like by a gang, and in the head and the face. And then I went to this was another attack, vicious surprise. That was by a singular person, singular individual. Strong, I guess, very strong individual but it was a cowardly surprise attack, and I was hit in the head, hit in the head a few times. So I hit my head on the concrete. It had a dislocated right arm, right shoulder. I went to the Jewish General Hospital here in Montreal. There was a hospital called the Jewish General Hospital, and I went to the doctors. They performed a procedure because I was all bloodied up, and my arm was like kind of looked like it was falling down from my body. And I went, and they performed the procedure, which is a medical procedure, basically to snap back, basically crack back my dislocated right arm, right shoulder, right arm, right, because the arm was kind of down, and I was all bloodied up. And I went there to the Jewish General Hospital, and they gave me like a cast, and I was put on some medications. I was given some meds, so I made a request for archival retrieval to retrieve the medical archives, the medical history, and they did reply. They sent me back a form, but I don't have a printer, and I don't know if I'm going to try to maybe transfer it in my USB key and see if I can go print it myself and fill it by hand and again go drop it, or otherwise I'm just going to go to the office itself. I gave her a deadline by, I guess, April 7th. A new deadline, April 7th, to go retrieve the archives. Hopefully I'm going to try to go next week. Hopefully I'm going to maybe Monday, or if I can go there Monday, that'll be maybe nice, or I'll see how it goes. It's something which I'm curious. When did I go? When did I go to have that procedure, which the doctors basically cracked back? It's a special procedure of replacing the cracking back, basically the right dislocated shoulder. And they did, and then I was given some meds, prescription medication. So I'm curious, when did I go? Probably 2013, somewhere, maybe it's October, November 2014, or early 2014 or 2013. And what was the medication? When did I go to have that procedure done? And what was the meds? Because they have the archives. I guess they probably should have it. And it's been a long time ago. At least it's been more than 12 years ago. And I have a very, very good memory of my life just before that time, and me living in that moldy place. Supposedly I was there in November 2010. I was there. So I lived there for at least, because if I was there in November 2010, and I moved out of there in July 2015, that means that I was there for at least close to November 2015, July. I moved to this new place, which is better. I have a bathtub, I can take a bath, so that means that I moved, that I was there at least for 4 years and a half, right? At least. I could have been living there for 6, 7, 8 years. I don't know. I know that in 2007, I have a document. I lived on the South Shore, in Greenfield Park on Victoria Street, 2007. I graduated high school on the South Shore here in Quebec, Canada, in Montreal. I do have a high school diploma. Many Aspies unfortunately drop out, but I did graduate high school, so that's a plus for me, and that is a very, very, very good thing. I dropped out of college. I have some college documents from 2005, and I dropped out of college, and But Aspies, like myself, we encounter problems and difficulties. It's difficult for us Aspies to make long-term friends and keep jobs. There's a very high unemployment in the Aspie community. Well, it's a monstrous unemployment rate. It's 80%, 4 out of 5. So that's something we have to work on. And I had many, many jobs over the years. It's just I kept on losing them, losing my jobs. Said, hey, I'm losing my jobs, losing my friends. And for years and years and years, my friend and others, I've said, you're on the spectrum of autism. That's why you see things differently, you speak differently, communicate differently. You're different. Aspies, we are different from you, the neurotypical population, and you constitute the 99% of the population, and we have to build bridges, and sometimes they're small, medium, or large. It all depends. There's variables in between different individuals, but I'm more equipped now thanks to those books, and it also took me more than 7 years to accept my autism, my Asperger's, beautiful rock, sun, the king shining now through those clouds. But it took me more than 7 years. Only about October 2022 I've accepted it, and yep, there are my legions of the crows. Gotta sing and gotta swing. Pledge your legions gotta bring. I love the crows. They're my legions. In a past life, previous incarnations, I was a priestess in ancient Rome, legion in ancient Rome and ancient Egypt, ancient Babylon. I was the priestess Pythia who erected the great Retria to Lycurgus. I was the priestess Pythia who erected the great Retria to Lycurgus. I was the priestess Pythia who erected the great Retria to Lycurgus, and my Pope the King, the sun still shines strongly as a king like it did 3,000 years ago. Hail the king. Hail the dragon army. Pledge your legions. Hail my legions, the crows. They're my fans, I guess, only fans. Because the only fans is going to be my rock and roll. If you're a billionaire, give some charity. And not all Aspies are good at computer science, by the way. Some Aspies are more than others. And of course, there's a disproportionate amount of Aspies who are good at computer science. Now, 1 out of 5 about, but not all. But the percentage is between 13.3, 13.4 to about 19.04, something like that. Goes to 20%. But so the correlation statistically per 1,000 would be that yes, indeed, there's a great disproportionate amount of Aspies who are good at computer science. But myself, I'm just beginning. Last year, October, this year. But yeah, in a parallel life, I've designed, built supercomputers, ICBM rockets, gadgets, telecommunications satellites, and look at those beautiful, beautiful trucks. Gotta salute the truckers. And price of gas is increasing, and there's always constantly in my mind mathematics going on now, because for the producing countries, the countries who produce oil, they release for the first time in history 400 million barrels from the reserves. It seems that it affected the oil markets, because today it was 3 cents lower than 3 days ago, 3.5 days ago. But generally, it did increase the price of oil. It did increase by a big margin, by a lot. And of course, in my head, in my brain, there's always performing of certain mathematics, There's always constantly mathematics going on in my brain. So now I was trying to calculate the possibility that the prices might even skyrocket even more, because that's, I guess, an Iranian geopolitical strategy, because we have this new war that began on end of February 28th. And of course, that can be a very big problem for the future oil markets, and of course the problem for the prices increasing. And it's interesting that I actually retrieved from the street. Sometimes in my videos I wasn't filming because it was during the snowstorm about 45 minutes ago. 44 minutes, close to 45 minutes ago. It was a snowstorm before I started filming a big one, intense one, very intense, for like 3.5 minutes, just raging fury of snow everywhere. And I retrieved from the street. It was about to get crushed by the road, by the road. So it was about to get crushed by the cars. It was it got a bit damaged before I got to it, it got hit. I'm gonna show you what I'm making a reference about. You can see in many of my videos, sometimes I save things from the street. In many of my videos, you see, I pick it up and there was no car passing, and it was my opportunity. But see, it did get damaged a bit. It got damaged there. See, so it did sustain some damage from the wheel here and there. Yeah, you can see there's damage there, damage there, damage on the side. So I retrieved it from the corner there when I was crossing the street. In many videos, you see me retrieving things like that, or food, or it's not something new, I guess. But nonetheless, of course, I have to say that it said made in USA. See, it says made in USA with globally sourced materials. It says made in USA. Made in USA with US and globally sourced material. So globally sourced can be from the world. But it's interesting that it said 14 days on it, see? 14 days. So 14 days from today, today is the 12th, is March 26th. Now, I saw a video which said that we have 14 days until hyperinflation hits. Hyperinflation, and in parallel to the rising prices of gas. Rising prices of gas. I don't pet certain dogs too much because of the fur I sneeze, so except if they're poodles. But that one looks, my gosh. See, we really have to rebuild our infrastructure, our roads, our government of Canada. See, that's a nice red color, but that is, yeah, we have to get new ones, eh? We really have to get new trucks for the public sanitation across the North American Collective. We have to replace our wagons, train wagons, train cars, train wagons. It's a mass public private partnership. My dream, fundamentally, we will be able to do it via the DRT. And sometimes we just got to do the math and invest in the North American Collective, of which we are, eh? And it is our common destiny, brothers and sisters, to fuse. But my way to fuse better, not Granddaddy Trump. There's no way to impose tariffs to invite us to join the union. What were you thinking, Granddaddy Trump? You should have said, hey, I'm going to throw the biggest party across the 50 states. We're going to have some sports, fitness, and dancing. Nobody dances like the Utah drill dancers. Nobody dances like the dancers in Utah. Nobody dances like the dancers in Utah, the drill dancers in high school. And we're going to throw dance party and cheerleaders to sing to Canada, come, join the union. So we're going to union and we're going to fuse, but via my Trinity of theories, best to do it. And we have a common manifest destiny because we're a collective, eh? We're a collective North American civilizational complex. So our complex of the North American Collective, and here in Quebec, we made what I call the Great Linguistic Compromise for the French language, long ago, and we continue to do it. So, and it's not one, it's going to be past 13, like the original 13, 10 and 3, 13. And my brothers and sisters, fellow Canadians, and geopolitically, the king is absent, and I can't believe that Uncle Carney pledged allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. You know that even the predecessor, my cousin Justin Trudeau, do you know that actually? Think about that. In the 21st century, our leader, Prime Minister, pledges allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. To the King of England and the King and the Queen of England, King Charles now. Our Prime Minister pledges allegiance not to the people of Canada and the Constitution, but to an absent king. The king is absent. They don't even come and live in Canada. Think about that, though. That gotta go. That should have been done on the 1st of January, the year 2000. The year 2000, we should have been a republic. And the way we're going to get the Imperial Republic is via my Trinity of theories. As much as I make no pretense to have no flaws or whatever, it's always God bless and Goddess kiss. The coming of our empire is founded first and foremost with the kisses of the goddess. I got trillions, 718 trillions. A trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. A billion has 9 zeros, a trillion has 12, so lots of kisses. KISS, kisses I got, and in parallel to those kisses, trillions of marching steps. I gotta salute the train conductor, see how my brain now works mathematically. I'm always trying to calculate the potential mathematics or Aspie meditative mathematics. What are they carrying? How many mileage? Because now there's constant traversing. What are the highways, the trucks? They pay more in gas. It's possible that a $200 a barrel, it's possible that in 14 days, just like it says on that work tool here, see? 14 days, it's possible that we have a global economic financial crash because we're over indebted both in the public and the private, and the affordability crisis across the world and in Canada and the United States, it cannot be sustained, right? It cannot be sustained. We cannot sustain it. And just a few 22 cents in Montreal, the gas increasing in just 7 days, but per liter, but that's per 10 liters is $2. Then 40 for, if you have to do 50 liters to fill your gas tank and you fill it every week, it's already adds up to about $50 more per month, per 2 weeks, whatever gas consumption one has. It goes up and up and up, eh? It goes up fast. It can go up the money. So if the salaries are stagnating, the math is really simple, eh? The stagnation of the salaries vis-a-vis parallel the cost of gas increasing, and furthermore, because the gas has increased, because we depend on the trucking business, they have to also increase the prices, and already they have. And we have unprecedented food bank use, eh? Food bank use in Canada has more than doubled since 2019. Right? Since 2019, and there were some numerical mathematical miscalculations also in the past 3.5 years with the temporary workers. And I love my fellow newcomers. We're going to integrate them in the empires. We're going to do the census. But of course, you also have to balance the security, safety of all our citizens and all who come to join us. We're going to be our brothers and sisters, so those who are going to come and join us here in Canada, US, as we're going to fuse in the future, since it's our common manifest destiny. And here the French language is the great linguistic compromise which we made, right? And I am different. I'm neurodivergent. I'm part of a tiny minority, eh? Sometimes it has been a tough road, eh? It's not easy. Not all Aspies are supercomputer geniuses, but most Aspies, we are above average in math, and there's always mathematics going on in my head. We're above average in math, right? So I am above average in math, and I don't remember high school and that because my memory before 2014, early 2014, late 2013 is on the blackout, but that memory storage of things such as you learn, for example, when you learn mathematics, when you learn languages, it's not stored in the same place, eh? So it's not stored in the same place. The learning mathematics and language skills and all that, it's in different parts of the brain. So you can have, like myself, memory loss, which is retrograde amnesia, but you can of course retain your skills, mathematical skills, and language skills. I'm a polyglot. In my place, it's always English, French, Spanish. For the past 11 years, pretty much English, French, Spanish, and I recognize other languages and speak other languages, but mostly French, English, and Spanish. By the way, I'm auctioning everything that I'm wearing, and we have 14 days until March 26th for a great financial collapse, worldwide global financial collapse, and hyperinflation. Potentially, hyperinflation could be happening. We cannot rule out hyperinflation because of the petrodollar and the BRICS movements of the economic financial movements of the BRICS and the SCO, the movement that they're doing, and we cannot rule out. We cannot rule out. Who's this guy? That's a Tom Clancy book. I just took it because it was free, distributed in a. I'm not an avid Tom Clancy reader, but it's not bad. I'm just beginning Tom Clancy in computer science, I guess, but better late than never, eh? But there's a lot of geopolitics, so because it's a lot of geopolitics, that's my special interest. The Aspies, like myself, we have special interest, and it's 24/7 geopolitics, 24/7 sports and fitness with yours truly, so I always got to correlate it with that. And see, this is garbage, this is recycling, so this has to go in the right place, recycling, right, not garbage. I'm sure if I look in the garbage, because there's not a lot of people here, but you have to be careful, and do it properly. It takes the individual. Gotta salute the train conductors. Train conductors rock and roll, and that's how we got, We got that train conductors, and we got the bakers, the butchers, the electricians, the plumbers, and the welders, the firefighters. And now we're gonna go. I thought it was gonna be sunny, so we were gonna go on the other side, but I'm not gonna go on that side. We're gonna go on the other side, like that, and do and then turn around once we get over there. Then we're gonna turn around and go back, because I don't want to go around by the side. I want to come back by here. Wow, look at that. Oh, I never seen anything like this before, I don't think. At least here. So many clusters of icicles. Isn't that super cool? And how they are. See? Mother Nature. Storms. I guess I lived through so many storms. So many storms of my own. Being depressed. Having been depressed and suicidal. Losing my jobs. And for years and years and years, I did not want to accept my Asperger's, that I'm neurodivergent, and I live with this ASD level 1, autism spectrum disorder level 1. I'm different until about October 2022. See, well, my brain was trying to calculate now. Okay, this is Aspiesque one-on-one. So, like I said, there's always constant mathematics going on. So see, there's a small one. So they all have a length. That might be 3 inches. That might be 6. That might be 7. Maybe the biggest one is 11 inches maybe. But depends from where do we start to calculate. Because if we start to calculate from the top, or there's two ways to calculate. From the midpoint there, the midsection, or the top. But nonetheless, if we add them all to the length, what it would be the average? Because let's say it looks like there's more than 44 here. It looks like there's more than 44, but let's say there's 93, 50, 100. Let's say 100, 156, something like that. We would have to add each and every one of them together and then divide by the total number of icicles that they are. So for example, we would add the 3 inches and a half with the 6 inches, with the 6 inches, with the 6 inches, then the 7 inches, 8, 9 inches, 9, 10, 11 inches, 13 inches, 13.3, 13.4. They would be the outliers, right? They would be the ones that are only a few of those. The vast majority will be between kind of like 3.5 inches and 7 inches, right? The length. But there would be some big ones and some smaller ones. So we would add them together, and then we would add them together and we would divide them by the same number. By that same number, right? So we would divide them by 100 if there's 100, So if there's 100, we would divide them by 100. So that way we'll get the average, right? We will get the average. So we would get the average, and that's just what we would do, and that's just how my brain works. There's constant mathematics. So I would look at these cars, and I would try to assume and do a mathematical assessment of their gas consumption, right? But it's only speculative, because I don't know if they spend 3 liters or 4 liters today. But let's say this car here spent 4 liters today, right? If that car spent 4 liters today, and it kind of goes the same route every Thursday, today's Thursday, let's say, from the job to the place, it kind of follows the same. It's about the same. So let's say this Thursday and 2 Thursdays ago, it eats every Thursday 4 liters, right? But today, because it's 173 does cost, then it will pay per liter about 22 cents more. Times 4 is 88 cents, right? So, but then that would be a vast proportion. So see this one also. This one's a hybrid. That one's a hybrid. So that one is a different calculation, the hybrid bus, because it's a proportionality. But if it's not a hybrid, then even the cost that the public transit workers, well, it's the cost for the city, right? The budget from the city will have to increase, because they would have to buy, it would cost them more, right? If it's not, well, even if it's a hybrid, there would be some consumption of gas. But I don't know what's the ratio, because we have also hybrids and electrics, and we still have ones that run on gas. I don't know. It would be good to know the percentage. Then I could look at the numbers and I could calculate it. And so this is always something that I love. I love mathematics. Well, it's an Aspiesque type of love anyways, the way it's loving in an Aspiesque way, but it's kind of co-evaluated with whatever the the love for mathematics is, but I'm a neurodivergent compared to you, the 99% of neurotypicals. So I just mentioned that it's an Aspie way of loving, and it's a constant thing, always calculating percentages mathematically, cost ratios, and the dynamics of the speed and the velocity, and all these cars. There's a mathematical constant. The constant, although they vary from each other, they have a number of liters that they will consume per 100 kilometers, right? So all these cars will have 13.3 or that one 10 or that one 11, that one 15, etc., etc., etc. It will always consume the same amount per 100 kilometers, per the same distance. X will equal, if X equals 100 kilometers, then X consumption, let's say, is 13.3 or 13.4, whatever. It could be 10, 15, 11. But that is a constant, right? It will always consume that much. What is the variable? Mathematically, the variable is something that changes over time. So because the price has increased, we could say that it's plus 22 cents per liter, right? Whatever the cost, if we compare it to on a timeline, right? So for the past, let's say, 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. So we go back 2 weeks, it was 150. It was about 150. 150, right? It was about 151.9, 152.9, 153.9. So average increase is about 22 cents. It's not really in 2 weeks, it's about 8. Made in Canada, but we have a mess here. See, that's why we need the DGA to clean all this in the spring, hopefully. 20 kilos. Oh yeah, see the ratio. So it's 44 pounds, but 20 kilos is 44 pounds. So that is the same, right? But just the values are different. So it's also the same with meters. It's made in Canada. That's good, right? That's good, but you can't leave it here. And I don't have a big black bag to put everything in here, but we need to establish the DGA to be on patrol, and all this got to be cleaned here. We got to clean the environment. We got work to do. See, that's why I'm calling for the mass public-private partnership financing of the Dancing Goddess Army. Lots of pollution here, buddies. Please, please, please. See, we have to do it as individuals, and we have to do an intervention here. The Dancing Goddess Army on the field, aka the Imperial Integrated Dance League, for the environmental action and cleaning of the sides and cleaning of checking, inspecting the public trash and the public recycling to see that things are done properly, and action and education and action. Here I'm gonna have to come with a big black bag and stack all those things in, and volunteers needed, or friends with benefits. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. Pledge your legions what for? And that's how we got on the go, 24/7. And for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, electricians, and for years and years and years I've been calling for the creation of the Dancing Goddess Army, the Imperial Integrated Dance League, and the Dragon Army, the SSD Legion, the Imperial Integrated Security Service and Defense Legion. So that's just, oh man, I'm upset. So much pollution that I said. I was about to scream, priestess of the goddess. And I go retarded. Shake your hips, shake your booty, twerk for the environment. I'm gonna channel Priestess Hana, which is I. But back to geopolitics, and yes, we need the Dancing Goddess Army for a geopolitical reason and for the environment as well, because I could blah, 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 but it takes some action, and action is required. I'm gonna go mad. Pollution! No! I'm upset. I'm a bit upset. There's a lot to work. There's a lot to work to clean from this side all the way back to there. It's work, The environment is work, so we had a lot of work to do here in the North America Collective, and we have to take care of the environment even over there. So, we need the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army. I'm willing to dance, massage, kiss. What am I willing to do? A lot of things on the legal only. Because as an Aspie, I already had to appear before the judge, and that was an experience I think that will be kind of weird, because in that book, Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome, that book, it mentions, because Aspies, sometimes we do things, and we Aspies, we have difficulties with social cues or social understandings of social, what's socially acceptable. We have certain gestures. We we have certain gestures, certain gestures, and all those gestures which we have now is to be related, of course, in that. And we have certain of those gestures which can seem weird, awkward, strange, bizarre. We're not evil or bad or negative, we're just different, and I will always be different. But thanks to my anonymous friend, I'm able to manage and those characteristics, those traits, because they're not symptoms. Symptom is for a disease, is for an illness, is for a malady. And we have, in parentheses, myself included, I have the double dedie, the disorder and disability, right? But the disorder and disability is superseded or annulled, cancelled on the plus positive side by the double SS, the SS standing for special skills, So the DD, the disability and disorder, in parentheses, is cancelled by the SS, right? Here I kind of look like the hanging gardens a bit, not in the modern sense. I kind of love it. It's beautiful during all seasons, but specifically when it's full blossom, summer, you gotta come check it out. And I gotta give a shout out to the designers, the builders, because it's kind of nice, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and it makes me think of the Hanging Gardens. From what we know of the Hanging Gardens in ancient Sumeria, well, actually, it was Babylon back then. But look, isn't it beautiful? As there's math in that, There's mathematics everywhere. The length of the branches, the inclination of the branches, certain angles. Like, what are you talking about? There's math. You don't see it? No, but there is. I'm going to explain to you. So, for example, here in between the branches, right? This is an angle because it's not perfect like this. It's less than, I can infer that it's less than 90 degrees because otherwise it would be straight. A straight is 360 degrees. A circle, there's an invisible circle around this part, right? So that's 360 degrees. So if it would be like this, it would be 90 degrees because a circle has 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90 in the ABC or in the quadrants. Each quadrant has 90 degrees. So it's like a circle, and then you can have a square with a quadrant 90 degrees. So basically there's less than 90 degree angle here. Both are less than 90 degrees. So there's the math. Like, oh wow, I never saw that before like that. But of course you can look and you can detect more because of course it's the width. So that's not only the only one there. See, you can see, for example, here. Well, okay, that's spicy. So that's not the same. But there are other soeurs, see? There are other soeurs there. See, there's other soeurs. So another who is this, well, pretty much they're all less than 90 degree angles, right? So there's the length of the branches, the inclination, and yeah, that's that's an Aspiesque brain for you. And this car goes a certain speed, consumes an X, Y, or Z amount of gas today, or since today and yesterday and during the week, it has an average per week, an average daily, and an average monthly. So there's math everywhere, right? So for example, what I can infer that today, if they gas in Montreal or somewhere else, they will all have paid about 22 cents more per liter. 22 cents more per liter. 22 cents average more per liter on the island of Montreal if they gassed on the island of Montreal, right? And that's mathematic. If they had to put 10 liters, 10 times 22 cents is $2.20 more than 10 days ago. The pig was here. The pig. Which pig? Black and white and rainbow. I can go the pig. I can go the pork. What you say for the sport? I like the graffitis that are really nice, If you have talent or somebody talent, we should allow them legally to paint, but not like scribbling things like this, Because some are really talented, Some are really, really good. I gotta say, Montreal, we got among the best. But again, just scribbling like this. This I wouldn't mind if to give them permission, Like, okay, this is not that bad, but it needs some color and an eye like that, and pyramids and eyes. And if you have some talent, I guess we can say, okay, here's the paint. Let's commission Public Works and let's do a whole week before the summer to just paint all this because it's so gray. Paint it some color, puts if they have talent though, and you have to do something nice like birds or hawks, and just Hawk Island, Montreal, and gonna go up and down, and then we're gonna go back from where we came and go left a bit and go right and salute the workers who built those highways, highways of North America, Canada, United States, always for the 10, the 50, and the 3 public workers, money is to finance, to commission works, and we might be in trouble 14 days until the 26th of March. Maybe we'll see gas at $2 plus. It's possible that gas goes to $2. $2 gas plus $2.25 by $2.50. $3 in 14 days per liter. Unseen. Maybe gas prices, unprecedented gas prices in the world, in North America. It's possible if that is the strategy. It's only about 25% that passes in the Strait of Hormuz. See, another thing that Aspies we look sometimes at little small weird details like that, and I'm assuming that this is the designers of the benches, but yeah, we look at odd details of numbers like that sometimes, and that's just how we are, and we could be odd, strange. Look at that. You can see the pyramid. My favorite skyscraper there. Right there, see? In between. Let's go here. We're gonna see it even more. Yeah, you see it? The pyramid. I guess we're gonna have to go on the side here to see it even better. See, that's downtown Montreal, but that's some kilometers away, and that's my favorite skyscraper there. The pyramid skyscraper. I think it was built in 1977. Gotta double check, or 1984. When was it built? Gotta check it when it was built, but that's my favorite skyscraper there in Montreal. The pyramid, which I go often atop the mountain, and it's colored. It's sometimes red or white or even rainbow, and that's beautiful Hawk Island, Montreal. Beautiful downtown Hawk Island, Montreal, seen from the west, and that way is south, right? The camera's pointing south now towards that tower. I think that's 3G tower, 4G, 5G, might be 5G now. Some 5G next to the 3 or 4Gs. 4 generation, 3G, 4G, and 5G, possibly those 3 generations mixed in that tower there. Maybe also even some 5G tower. 5G, the thicker ones, the smaller ones are more like 5G, but I have a little knowledge of how they work, how they operate. I know that the cell phones are now constantly connected to the 5G towers, and you got to salute the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, the plumbers, the train conductors, please, NFL, NHL, NBA, MLB. Oh, I don't know if their hats are playing tonight. Give some charity, and please reduce the cost of the tickets by 44.9%. 44.9%, 44.9%. And give some tickets to the public workers. I love this design. And see, there's a lot of math there. There's cubes, cubical, rectangular. Not a lot of pyramid, but there's cubes, squares, and rectangular geometrical. I like it. I like that they put a little bit of color, especially the red and the yellow and the blue. There should be more green. There's a bit of a green there, I guess, but of course it would be nice even some more color, but I'm content. I'm happy with a little color because, I like the colors like that, and I guess I have my cousin, uncle going on the bike there. Good for you, a little exercise. And now we're going to go back, I just wanted to show a little bit of that side of the city here to change a little bit. Tomorrow we're going to go to the second home, the mountain, Mount Royal, which is about 15 miles that way, 13.4 kilometers that way. And you can see beautiful downtown Montreal, and got some truckers, and of course a mathematical question. How many trucks contain bananas, potatoes, bacon, and milk? Then you say where though? Where, right? See? It's a trick question mathematically. Yes, exactly. I have to say where. Is it in Montreal only, on the island only, on the bridges, on the highways, all across Canada, anywhere in Canada? I'm going to say anywhere in Canada, or the United States. So you got 50 states, 10 provinces, and 3 territories, 63, which are going to merge and fuse by the DRT in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead, ASAP. And the American-Canadian Compromise, somewhat similar to the European Union and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. See, that's my favorite skyscraper. And we're going to build the Forgotten Goddess Temple, because I always credited my surviving COVID to the Forgotten Goddess Temple. See, that's the pyramid, skyscraper pyramid right there. You can see it, and a little bit of downtown you can see by the size, but something the likes of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, but for the realities and our common manifest destiny of the North American Collective. I see that we got a lot of work here to do for the environment as well. There's lots of pollution. Yikes, no! Why did I have to turn and see that? Oh, put it in the trash, put it in the garbage, in the public garbages and trash. That's why we got public workers, my fellow brothers and sister citizens. I'm all about work, especially the dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. And I wish I could afford a massage therapy session and, get my wafers. I like my Nutella, my hazelnut spread hazelnut and sweets, and and that's no pretense there. I like bacon and eating good and feeling good. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, and maybe before 2014, maybe I was a junkie a few years. That's why that PTSD and surviving that vicious surprise attack years and years ago, like I said, I was hit in the head a few times, hit my head on the concrete and was all bloodied up. I'm still going to update every coming days, weeks, and months ahead, and I'm going to go to the Jewish General Hospital, Jewish General Hospital. I'm going to go to see when did I go there for that procedure. And because of that procedure, I am curious what was the medication which I prescribed. And maybe I was a junkie, maybe I was doing drugs, maybe I was consuming alcohol, I know that I moved out of there. It's going to be July, August is going to be 11 years. Wow. So I have a very good memory just of the past 11 years and some months. I'm going to take some joy. Childlike joy. I left some for others' joy as well. I didn't do them all. I said somebody else can do them. Oh, what is this? We got work to do. Lots of work. Eh? And here's a geopolitical statement. That is for the North American Collective, a geopolitical statement, which I address. Sometimes I discuss it. And that is translated as long live a free Quebec. So that is a pro-separatist Quebec independence sticker. In other words, in a third referendum, that person, if doesn't change his mind, will vote yes. Because we had 2 referendums in 1980 and 1995. In Quebec, both came out with a no vote. It came very close in the 90s, in 1995. It came very close to Quebec becoming an independent state, independent country. There was a referendum, the no vote got it. But now there's more and more for the youth, especially those between 20 and 45. Gen Z and millennials, there's a growing separatist sentiment. Now, myself, I would vote no. Of course, my theories, philosophers, but I'm a Quebecer. I sing rock and roll in Quebecois, in French, and I rock and roll like Celine Dion, but my idea is best for the 21st century, because we're a new civilizational complex, and it's time to fuse as an imperial people, as an imperial people. See, when you see the police, nobody's perfect, not me, not police, not the institution, not the individuals, and most people deserve second and third chances. Some do, some don't. And of course, I love, as I sing that rock and roll, for the farmers, butchers, and our brothers and sisters in the security forces, police officers, men and women, brothers and sisters in uniform. I also sing that rock and roll for my brothers and sisters who take their second chance. And you do your criminal rehabilitation. I love hearing and I will support actually, ex-prisoners, who've lost their liberty and freedom. I would actually, if I'll be a billionaire, among financing for the environment and women's sports, because I love dancing. Dancing is my favorite sport. But I would also finance women's sports such as the PVHL. If I could afford I would actually prioritize to get tickets for the Victoire Professional Women's Hockey League. I would prioritize to get for the Victoire Professional Women's Hockey League. I would prioritize to get for the Victoire. And dancing being my favorite sport, but I would also finance, housing for the ex-convicts, who took their second chances and turn your life around. Because I believe in second, third, and fourth chances. That's why I didn't die myself. I always say I survived that vicious, murderous, homicidal attack, vicious surprise attack, vicious, homicidal in nature, murderous in nature, surprise attack that I survived years and years and years ago. I'm going to keep updating when that was, and to do an intervention such as the intervention of 2016. I'm going to discuss it a bit now because I'm on the topic. You see, that's why I didn't die, to do that special intervention and many little other ones, acts of goodness and kindness with it in parallel, while not being perfect and having flaws and vices. And I make no pretense to be perfect or to be without flaws, or I suffered, struggled years and years and years, and I'm pretty happy, joyous today. I'm just financially stressed, craving a little bit of a massage, but I might take a bath tomorrow, or if not during the weekend. So that's what it is with that, and that's all we got. So now I'm going to discuss, and I get goosebumps whenever I discuss it, the special intervention which I did. And I want to mention before that do you see the math here? There's lots of math, eh? There's weight, there's length, there's stability, there's circular dynamics. Yeah. So I survived that moldy place, living in that prison cell. It wasn't an official prison cell, but it was like one, I would say it was like a prison cell. There was lots of mold with that. And I lived there, and lots of mold. And I survived. I didn't even have a bathtub there. And of course, the bathtub that I have now is not perfect, but it's good, It's good enough, and of course it's good enough with that. And of course I survived that moldy place, and that was a moldy place where I used to live now. Where I live now, it's way better, but where I used to live before, summer, July 2015, it was a very moldy place, and of course that was the mold, maybe that caused also memory loss, I'm not sure, or like I said, maybe I was a junkie or whatever, it doesn't matter, but I survived, and I survived that vicious homicidal surprise attack. And in 2016, I did a big intervention, security intervention, which I always say that I was safe to save others, and my intervention without a doubt prevented a mass casualty event. I saved hundreds of people, potentially hundreds or tens, possibly hundreds. In 2016, I get goosebumps whenever I discuss it, and it's like a horrible event. I went to the library, and I discovered in a freely distributed newspaper called the Awaj Voice of the People, the Awaj Voice of the People. There was a freely distributed propaganda on behalf of the Islamic State, There was freely distributed propaganda, on behalf of the Islamic State. Freely distributed propaganda on behalf of the Islamic State. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Calling on people to pledge allegiance to the caliphate, to the caliph, and start attacking us. And they were dormant in the Islamic State for like 7 years plus, from about 2018 till about 2018, of course, till about last year. 2018 till about last year. Right? They were kind of dormant for more than 7 years. And of course, for more than 7 years, they were, of course, kind of dormant. And about a few months ago, they resurfaced with their actions. And just a few days ago, I think 3.5 days ago, it was reported in the news. Oh, that's a danger zone, see? If somebody comes and it's windy, I'm going to do another citizen security intervention. See? This branch could have fallen on somebody. If it starts being windy out of nowhere, see, kind of looks like a staff almost. If it starts being windy out of nowhere, that could have fallen on somebody, see? Now my little branches here, so and I just see somebody coming, but yeah, that could have been, of course. You have to watch out for the branches. Sometimes they fall. See, they're on the side. That's a big branch, so they can damage. They can damage here, so they can create a lot of damage while they fall. They could damage. Yeah, so you gotta be careful with that, eh? This triggered ancient memories, flashes from a past life. From a past life. See? Look. See, this branch is big. That one's big, eh? Look at that. That one's really, really big. Oh, this one's also big. And that one's also huge. See how it fell? See, this one's hanging on nothing there. You have to push it. Because it can fall on somebody. See? Look at that. See? I said. Oh yeah, this one has to go down, buddy. Because otherwise it'll fall on somebody. See, down you go. Won't hurt anybody. There we go. Down you go. Yeah, that could have fallen right here on somebody jogging. Who we saw there's somebody jogging, or somebody passed with the dog there. See, there's somebody with the dog. Somebody and people come jog here, and yeah, that one also is dangerous. But that one I'm not gonna be able to get. See, that one actually is not so bad. It's bad. It can be potentially bad if it's very windy. So we have to look out for each other. And in 2016, I discovered in the freely distributed newspaper, Awash, Voice of the People, I discovered Islamic State propaganda. I don't use the word ISIS. I don't use ISIS, because for me, on the table, it's always God, Goddess. And one of the many names of the Goddess resembles the usage in the media of that name. So since for me, being a priestess as well of the Goddess, Adrian Hannah Dragon, keep my name out of your mouth if it's not for a blessing. Friends with benefits only, or pledge your allegiance. I don't want to waste anybody's time. Life is short. I could have died of COVID. And, in 2016, I saved others. I immediately took several copies of that newspaper, which had that article aforementioned, and I went to the RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police headquarters. I marched with the articles, and I did my citizen security intervention, and they had kept the video, the camera, and also contacted the Pentagon, CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and CIA, and take note of that, and did the investigation. Because in the coming days, weeks, and months afterwards, I did not see the newspaper being published. I did not see the newspaper being published. Afterwards. So, as Islamic State propaganda freely distributed in Montreal in a newspaper in spring 2016. I even wrote CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, which is the co-equivalent, of course, of our of the CIA. Is the CIA co-equivalent, and I have the letter dating from spring 2016, 10 years ago. Wow, I can't believe it's 10 years ago. And COVID, I had it 6 years ago. So, and that vicious surprise attack was probably 12, 13 years ago. Probably, because I don't know for sure. Before 2014, late 2013 is like blackouts of my memory. Not sure. Anyways, what I'm sure is the past years and that intervention, and I have proof because I have the letter from CSIS, and should be still the video in the RCMP archives where I would have saved it, put it to the highest echelons of intelligence, because that was a failure on behalf of the SPVM, our police forces. That was a failure of intelligence and failure from the behalf. Also, how come it got published by the editor? The editor published it. It should have never been published in the first place. And if I would have been the RCMP officer, I would have commissioned the highest echelons of RCMP power and military forces and Pentagon and CSIS and the Department of Homeland Security in the United States, and written letters and said, hey, one of our fellow citizens did the great duty and the great action and the great act and the great intervention, which in this case it happened to be me, myself, Adrian Hannah Dragon, rebirthing during this COVID. Nobody's born not bragging, but that's what I call officially, technically, philosophically, the independent citizen security intervention, which I did, saved potentially hundreds of lives in a mass casualty event saved us from a terror attack, an Islamic State-like terrorist attack, because it was propaganda on behalf of the Islamic State and their brutality, their sheer warfare strategy of brutality they had espoused up to today. They are unrivaled in modern day terrorist warfare with their brutality, right? That was part of who they still are, because there's a resurgence of them now. Even in New York, there was some incident of improvised explosive devices. So imagine they would have done it according to what that article was calling. I get goosebumps now. I'm getting goosebumps as I recall that horrible incident, and I did not even hesitate. I took several copies. I marched to the RCMP headquarters and did my citizen security intervention, and that should have been noted to the highest echelons of power and security apparatus, to the top security apparatus leaders of Canada, United States, and beyond NATO, because NATO countries, the NATO Article 5 was only invoked once on 9/11 during the terrorist attack. So we potentially saved my fellow Canadians and North Americans from an October 7th like attack. Potentially from an October 7th like attack, right? Potentially from an October 7th like attack. October 7th like attack. So I'm really proud of that. I always say I was saved because of that. Maybe I saved, fellow citizens and brothers and sisters innocent, because the children are innocent. Some of us are not that innocent. Some deserve to be punished more than others. Some deserve to be given second chances. Some deserve second, third chances. Some don't. Some do, some don't, I guess. Some do, some don't. Some deserve a rehabilitation. And I had a flash of that movie Faster. In the end, they remembered, and he gives a second chance to the person the pastor, who he becomes a pastor, but he was a criminal, and he cries, and suffers, and says, "I did all I could," and whatever. And those are not the exact words of the dialogue, but it's Dwayne Johnson, actually one of my favorite actors, and Dwayne Johnson, if you're ever bi-curious, you know where to knock. Anyways, so yeah, that movie Faster is at the end there, he spares him, he gives him a second chance, says go back to your family, stuff like that. So he gives him a chance, and that's what we got now, and we got to be correlated in the domains, and we have now to coexist together, right? Because I predicted what's happening now back in 2019, and just to finalize on my intervention of 2016, that I couldn't believe it, Islamic State propaganda, and clearly it was a failure of our intelligence services, the RCMP, the FBI, I guess, from the United States, DHS, but it was in Montreal, Canada. So CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, which were founded on the 21st of June 1984, such as the Islamic State, they declared their caliphate June 29th, 2014. But CSIS was founded on June 21st, 1984, 1984, whilst, of course, the caliphate was founded in 2014 and also June 29th. And I know because of Asperger's, and they're part of geopolitics, right? They're important geopolitical events, geopolitical groups, geopolitical institutions, right? Because CSIS is the co-equivalent of the CIA. I know I know those dates. I'm pretty sure those are the dates. And the Islamic State has resurged now in the past months, and seems that they're also been active again with their terrorist activities. So we got to be ever vigilant. Look at this beautiful red. And my action, no doubt, prevented a mass terrorist attack. And I went to the RCMP headquarters. I guess I'm still probably on they should have kept the video footage, the footage when I went, and should have kept my name, which made the declaration and whatever have it. And I contacted CSIS. CSIS sent me back a letter of just a gratitude and appreciating thankfulness, which is good. I wasn't looking for money. I didn't do it for money. I did not do it for money. I just, out of course, sheer horror and sheer to prevent a terrorist attack, which I did. Prevented a mass casualty event, possibly a October 7 like Bataclan type of style attack here in Montreal. I didn't do it for money. I wasn't asking for money. I didn't, the author, I don't know. It should have did a thorough investigation, arrested the author, even pressed charges, because the newspaper afterwards, in the coming days, weeks, and months, I have not seen it. I have not seen it, but I did my part as a citizen, and of course, it was a failure of intelligence, and it should have not been published in the first place. So the editor also of the newspaper, but did I read it? Maybe he or she did not even know. It just printed because it was a freely distributed newspaper, but it was in Côte des Neiges, in the library in Côte des Neiges, or of course is the most populated borough. Borough of Montreal is almost 200,000 people live, and on the island of Montreal is 2.5 million people. So potentially a devastating attack here in Montreal. I prevented it. My intervention, what I officially, technically, philosophically call the Independent Citizen Security Action or Independent Citizen Security Intervention, preemptive intervention. So my action preemptively saved us from an attack here. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Islamic State propaganda calling to attack us, calling for people to pledge allegiance, because that's their MO. Their MO, modus operandi, is individual cells and individual citizens. They pledge allegiance to the Caliph. They're on their fourth Caliph now, because Abu Bakr was the first one. They're now recognized as a caliphate by the Islamic community, right, as a whole. Only a tiny minority, very small minority, but that minority, their brutality and their willingness to commit atrocious acts of terrorism, even beheadings and crucifixions, which the sheer brutality of it, terrorize people and still do today. I guess people still have PTSD from the Islamic State, also known as ISIS or ISIL. I don't use the word ISIS, I said again, due to my special motives as I lived many past lives, previous incarnations from ancient Egypt by the Nile and by the pyramids till today, but we have a little bit of that rock and roll to do, and that's something which we have now, as fellow citizens. I'm somebody who doesn't like violence. I do not like violence. I don't like violence. I'm hyper vigilant. I don't like violence, but I am hyper vigilant, and my theories, protocols are only for security, service, and defense, and I guess that's where we're going to end it on that intervention in 2016. So it's 10 years now, April. It was around March, April 2016, so yeah, I'm happy to have done it. I didn't do it for financial, monetary compensations, but I did it out. It was kind of instinctual in a way, I did not even hesitate to take several copies of the newspaper and march right away to the RCMP headquarters, in which I did, and did my citizen report, and technically I call it the Independent Citizen Security Intervention, and that's how we're going to rock and roll with that. Hey, look at those beautiful red, what I said. So as I encourage all to work out, train, exercise, and husbandism will be my medicine and therapy of choice, and I'm getting a bit hungry. I don't want to have a headache. I wonder, what did I eat? I had more coffee than I ate. So I guess I'm getting a little bit of a headache because of that, but I guess I can take a home journey because I've been marching for a few hours and do a little bit of that. Going home to eat, march to my lairs and saluting the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, the plumbers, the daycare workers changing diapers, We're not that important sometimes. The truckers on the roads, Maybe the public workers deserve a massage therapy session more than myself, because, I don't want to waste anybody's time, but I'm all about mostly work or friends with benefits. My work, the Dancing Goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, which includes implementing the DRT, the Debt Refusion Theory, the DRT, Debt Refusion Theory. We have to implement it ASAP. And I actually predicted what's happening now, back in 2019. October 2019. I have the proof, and I make some videos, short videos, where you can see for yourself that I predicted that there will be an international conflagration. The world order will end as we had known it for the past 30 years or so, and there will be potentially a World War III, and that was exactly the World War III scenario. I also consequently created a workout training program system to go hand in hand with such a scenario, a World War III scenario, back in 2019, October, and you can see hundreds of my workout videos, and I think total more than 372, close to 400, if not more. For sure, 372, but plus, what I call officially the General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army workout. I made it, created, produced it, and designed it to go hand in hand with that workout. And that workout, which I created, of course, is an efficient, simple, effective workout training program system, which is meant to go and be for an emergency situation. And of course, I have created it to be simple, effective, and efficient, and I have for years advocated for both Canada, United States, and NATO member countries to adopt it as part of the armed forces curriculum, the police services, security services, and as young as 7, the sky is clearing. Look at that beautiful sky. I guess after the storm has lived storms of my own, but I'm proud of that creation. I'm going to explain it a bit now that I'm on the topic. The General War Integrated Total Body Training System, again, I created it to go hand in hand with that scenario, and of course with a World War III scenario, and again, that scenario is unfolding according to my predictions. Not exactly detail by detail, but in a general manner, it is predicted. As I predicted, it is happening. It is happening as I have predicted it. So generally, basically, fundamentally to discourse, there's the Hydro-Quebec, saluting the Hydro-Quebec workers. Those twins, they're a bit different, but they look like twins, the trucks there. And of course, I gotta give a shout out because I'm doing this video with clean zero pollution energy. I'm gonna post it with clean zero pollution energy. All the lights here that you see, now it's starting to light because it's starting to be, see, those are starting to be on the highways because it's starting to be getting darker, so the lights are on. It's clean zero pollution energy, eh? All the electricity that you're using in Quebec comes from hydroelectric water, even in the winter. Proud of that, eh? Quite something. Goes to 5 or 6 states in the US. 1/5, 20%, even more, of the island of Manhattan in New York receives and consumes electricity from Hydro-Quebec. So I always sing that rock and roll every day. For Hydro-Quebec, we need to build some more dams. It's environmental friendly, does not pollute at all. It comes from the water, so can't tell us nothing with that here, you know. So it's always good for electric cars, and I would own, actually, if I would have the funds and the money, I would ask for a red. I would love to have a red, even rainbow or red and green. Even metallic is okay, but maybe silver and gold. Special custom made for the Dragon Elon Cybertruck. I would love to have a Cybertruck, actually. I would love to have a Cybertruck. I wouldn't buy one if I would have the money. My favorite car is a Cadillac 1963, but I wouldn't drive it much, just to have it, and that's it. And I drive these, auctioning the boots, the laces. Thank you to my nano's friend, greatest laces I ever had. They're rainbow, see? Rainbow laces, auctioning them, and everything that I'm wearing for $1 million. I wish I could buy my friend a house, to be honest. Still challenging Donald Trump since 2018 till the boxing match on the Canadian-US border. Before I forget, I want to mention that I will to build the fort together with you and the construction workers on the Canadian-US border to build the biggest ever sports arena complex ever built, right? Sports arena ever complex, the Imperial People's Coliseum, right there on the border. For me and Donald Trump to inaugurate it in that boxing match, sportsmanship in that boxing match, in the Forgotten Goddess Temple, to be 11 times bigger than St. Joseph's Oratory, which we have now. They look two trucks the same, twins. Barasa. It's like a Barasa. One's going the other way, one's going the other way. Isn't that something? Exactly the same. I gotta call them twins, but one's going east, the other one's going west. That's the first time I've ever seen that before. Two exact identical trucks. Exactly intersecting and meeting right there in that spot. It's on the camera. You can see it. And wow, that was an event, quite an event. I never... The one's going towards Ottawa, Toronto, toward the west. I'm marching towards the west now. So that direction where the camera's pointing now, I'm marching towards the west. West. When I'm turning now my back, that's the east. So the camera's facing the east now where the sun rises. Now the camera's facing where the sun sets. So one's going east, the other's going west. But they look exactly the same. I never seen that on the highway. Two exact identical colors. The color and the size also. The size of the trucks. It was written Burasa on them, so I guess you got a brosa sister. I'm a bro sis myself, 50-50. Many past lives was a woman, many past lives and incarnations was a woman. I orated the great Retriatuli Kyrgyz as the priestess Pitya, as I am the priestess of the goddess now, so I'm bro sis, 50-50. But that was quite something to see that. Never seen that before. Wow, isn't that amazing? And they intersected exactly at the point there between the north and the south, because one is going east, the other is going west, but in relation to each other at one point was exactly the north and south, right? Because on the opposite side, now the camera is pointing north, now the camera is pointing south towards the 50 states in the United States. So let's build a Forgotten Goddess temple 11 times bigger than the St. Joseph's Oratory. Here's a structure which we have. It's a big structure. The St. Joseph's Oratory is a big building. And to build a Imperial People's Coliseum to be 11 times bigger than the Caesar Superdome. The Caesar Superdome, of course, is also known... Well, actually, Caesar Superdome, there were several Super Bowls fought, played, and battled out there. One of which is, of course, Super Bowl 47. Which has several nicknames: Bro Ball, Harball Ball, Bro Ball, Harball Ball, Hardball, or Blackout Ball, also known as the Blackout Ball. My 49ers lost to the Ravens in the Blackout Ball, but nonetheless, that was the ball. Super Bowl 47, I like that one. I watch it every year a few times. Sometimes I watch over and over several Super Bowls. Super Bowl 47 is one of my top 5 favorite Super Bowls, even though my 49ers lost. I like it as a special Super Bowl in my top favorite one. Super Bowl 47. Check it out. Ravens versus San Francisco 49ers. Niners versus San Francisco. Only lost by 3 points, but it's still a loss. And many Super Bowls were played at the Caesar Superdome. It changed names. First, it was known as the Louisiana Dome. Then it changed names to Mercedes-Benz. And from Mercedes-Benz, it went to Caesar's Dome. So just like myself, Dragon became Dragon. Adrian Hanna Dragon. I died during COVID. I still officially to pay for the monetary funds to pay to change my name. Anybody finance, don't waste my time for that official change of the names. And we move forward to the Imperial Republic. Gonna build a Forgotten Goddess temple in the Imperial People's Coliseum to be 11 times bigger, the biggest ever sports arena complex for sportists and perpetuities. Look at that red cardinal. Sports and perpetuities, where dancing, sports, events, celebrating different works such as the farmers, the butchers, the bakers, the truckers on the monthly basis, dedicated to the construction workers who build the skyscrapers, to the train conductors, workers events, butchers, daycare workers, training events for the workers, the NACWP, the North American Collective Workers Party, the North American Collective Workers Party, the North American Collective Workers Party, the North American Collective Workers Party. That's how we got, and that's how we do, and that's how we have to get categorically in it, and we have to formulate that, and that's what we have to be coefficient about and be mindful about that and build it. And me and Donald Trump, we're going to inaugurate it by fighting in a boxing match. I got the red gloves still. They're a bit damaged because I wore them a lot. in my training over the years, and I auctioned those for $1 million, but a bid should be worth it to give half to my anonymous friend because she gifted me those around November 2018. I can't believe it's been more than 7 years. Wow, it's been more than 7 years that I've been challenging Donald Trump. I have the videos online, on the rabbit hole online on my YouTuber channel, but also my geopolitical discussions, such as many of my theories, philosophies, especially some of them are more intellectual, academic, and of course that intellectual, academic proponencies is of course what you can see, such as my series and the privilege of civilization, dating from 2023. That was my thesis to the world, and yes, civilization is a privilege, but here in the North American Collective, because we are a new civilizational complex, or an emerging civilizational complex, which is not divorced. We're not divorced. We don't have a divorce with Western civilization, but we are distinct. So maybe we're a bit like an open marriage, but we have the North American Collective. Hey, look at this beauty. Isn't this super nice? I love it. Mother Nature, the storm, half and half. See, half iced, half not. So yeah. And also build the House of the Dragon. Pyramid, scarlet, crimson, red is a shade of... Well, actually, crimson and scarlet are shades of red, right? Crimson and scarlet, they're shades of red. Isn't this a beauty also? So beautiful. Mother Nature, amazing work post-storm here. Just love it. It's kind of like enchanted little place. So... that's all we have, and that's all we gotta get that rock and roll, and build also the pyramid Rainbow People's Palace. The Rainbow People's Palace for my fellow LGBTQ community, those who are gay, lesbians, part of the LGBTQ plus community, such as myself, and also the neurodivergent community, because I'm part of a small, tiny minority of the population community, which is neurodivergent and which lives with Asperger's. So I'm an Aspie, and that Asperger's, of course, I will always be an Aspie. It's not a disease. It's not something that I'm ashamed of, and we have our struggles and have trouble keeping jobs, or it's a very high unemployment at 80%, 4 out of 5. And in dedie, we have disability and disorders, but those are usually canceled out to the positive side by double SS, by the special skills. In parentheses, so those brackets, parentheses, they canceled out to the positive side of an Aspie, although it can be hard for us. Social skills, social knowledge, when to speak, when not to speak, personal distance, all these can be more difficult for Aspies or people who are on the spectrum of autism, which Asperger's is again. Thank you, anonymous friend, for the book called Appreciating Asperger Syndrome. It's a great book. I recommend it. Appreciating Asperger syndrome. I also recommend teaching Asperger students social skills through acting. All their world is a stage, and we have to implement my theories. I predicted what's happening now. Aspies, we have special interests, and also known as obsessive interests, and mine happen to be the Holy Trinity, geopolitics. And I know some of my theories, propositions can be intellectual, academic, a bit Aspiesque with their intellect and the faculties of academia, academic, and intellectual propensity, but they're on point. So they have to, we have to implement my DRT theory, because it goes hand in hand with my prediction from 2019, which is unfolding as I predicted it. You see hundreds of my videos. I write day 44, day 93, day 333, day 344 of the World War III scenario. And I have little postings. They have the proof because they're online. They're on YouTube. They're on the YouTube channel, so I have the proof for that. So I predicted what's happening now in a general manner, not in an overall manner, but in a general manner. I predicted it, and of course, that is, of course, the prediction where we have now to be correlated. So, of course, to do what we have to do is implement the strategies for the North American Collective for fusing Canada and the United States via that implementation of the DRT theory, specifically in parallel to the total mobile defense theory and the fusion of the FBI and the RCMP thereof into the CPS, Citizen Police Service. RCMP is the co-equivalent of the FBI, and we're going to do a census of the population according to Imperial Canadian Amnesty. We're going to do a new constitutional republic with some reforms and some public-private partnership, which we must do. We must finance healthcare. We must finance fitness. We must repair the bridges, the roads, the aqueducts. We, a major part of our brothers and sisters who lost their liberty, need to get the Imperial Criminal Rehabilitation Act. And we have to do lots of work. We have lots of work for security, service, and defense. We have to build the biggest ever sports arena Coliseum on the Canadian-US border there, the Trump Dragon Coliseum. And we're going to have sportists in perpetuities. Construction workers going to put some people to work and going to be working and going to be throwing a great party. My children going to dance in the streets, safe and secure on the Sabbaths, which are going to be from Friday midnight, basically a second into Saturday, all across the Imperium, the Imperial Republic. Canada and United States fused, joined as one. One people, free, brave, strong, loving, and just. And the correlation of the Sabbath, where food, housing, and all that will be financed, and we're going to finance tourism. Look at this beautiful one for rehabilitation, for generation. All basically my theories and fundamental. The DRT, as it starts snowing now, I'm going to quickly verse the DRT. So the DRT, pay close attention. We're going to explain now the debt refusion theory. We're going to take all the public and the private debt. My $10,000, your $10,000, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So all the public and the private debt, we're going to, of course, convert it into US dollars. So, of course, we're going to add it all up. So we're going to add all the public and the private debt. All of it, we're going to add it all up. And we're going to, of course, convert it into US dollars, including my $10,000 debt. And we're going to add it all up with the United States debt and all the money circulation. We're going to create the UE, U.Universal, U.Exchange Unit. We're going to fuse the Bank of Canada and the Federal Reserve. So the Bank of Canada and the Federal Reserve, we're going to fuse it, right? And thus we're going to create a new bank, the Imperial Central Bank. We're going to get rid of the border, do a great census, fuse the RCMP and the FBI into the CPS, the Citizen Police Service, which is going to be fusion of the RCMP and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI thereof. And of course, we're going to fuse CSIS, Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and CIA into the Imperial Security Integrated Service, or Integrated Security Imperial Service, vice versa, Integrated Security Imperial Service, vice versa. We're going to do a census. We're going to finance people to work out, train, exercise. We're going to, of course, mass build the infrastructures, the potholes, the bridges. We're going to rebuild the bridges, and that's what we're going to do. Of course, we're going to be doing that together, and of course, we're going to mass finance. We're going to mass finance fitness, mass finance the Dragon Army, the Dancing Goddess Army with it, the Dragon Army, the Imperial Integrated SSD Legion for security, service, and defense, the Dancing Goddess Army for environmental education and action. So the DRT includes monetary integration theory, which is the financial theory which was implemented in the European Union. So we have no choice but to implement really my DRT for the public and the private, for the North American Collective. It has to be implemented Canada, United States jointly, but it can be expanded afterwards. But first Canada, United States. It can be expanded for the BIS, Bank of International Settlements, and NATO. And you know that before October 7th, 2023, the surprise attack on Israel, I was advocating as part of the Genesis 33 project. Genesis 33, a reference to the twins in the Bible, but of course I was advocating for both Mexico and Israel to join NATO before October 7th, because technically, in a state of war, NATO's cannot include other countries, because then they would have to go to war with the country's at war with, right? Because it's an organization which is defensive, security, and of course founded 75 years ago in April 1949. And the Article 5 in the 75-year history since 1949, you know that Article 5, which is the common one for all for one defensive strategy of NATO, was only invoked once. 9/11. 9/11 was the one and only time when that was invoked. So the invocation of Article 5 only happened once. 9/11 on behalf of the United States. What a paradox, right? So we must take NATO and these institutions to the next level for the 21st century, for the Dragon Army complex and the new 911 total security service and defense apparatus and implementation of the protocols thereof, in conjunction with all my theories, intellectual, academics, geopolitical theories such as the grand BDD, benevolent, dominant, and benevolent, as in goodness, benevolent, dominance and dominion of the world by the fusion of Canada and the United States into the imperial complex and the implementation of the DRT, which I discussed. So the DRT, debt fusion theory, we're going to create this new currency, the UE, or the imperial dollar, which is going to have the value of the US dollar. We're going to set an interest rate level of 10% afterwards. We're not going to be able to have more than 10% on the loans. So there's going to be a debt refusion as well. You're going to require my Scorpio brother, Bill Gates, Microsoft, CEO, Palantir, and for total security, total service, total defense, we're going to have building of centers, super centers, where citizens can go attend and see what's going on, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. I got to know everything that's coming in via the ports and the airports. And as far as the Mexico, the border with Mexico, we're going to move the foreign policy proposition afterwards. Maybe give Mexico a chance to join, of course, in the creation of the UE. And if not, for other countries as well, we're going to, of course, implement it for Canada and the United States. But now the geopolitical statement, which I'm going to make, you have to accord in the positive with a yes, 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 that of course basically, fundamentally, if we are to establish a hierarchy of interest for Canada and the United States, we have to say that regardless of all other countries, civilizations, regions, as the number one priority of the foreign policy for both Canada vis-a-vis the United States and in reciprocity for the United States vis-a-vis Canada, it is to establish the best economic, social, financial, monetary relations with the United States and us with Canada, right? There's no other way around that. You cannot argue with that. That is a constant, has been for decades, at least since the fall of the British Empire, and the king is absent. That gotta go. Forget about the future pledging allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. That's 19th century. That's no place in the 21st century North American collective. And just gonna hydrate a bit. Yeah, we have to implement the DRT and create the complementary covenant and proper institutions for coast to coast, ocean to ocean defense, and have to know the Dragon Army, everything that's coming in and out. Everything that's coming out. Well, actually, everything that's coming in via the ports and the airports. Because that's where the things are coming, and we're going to fuse the RCMP, the Mounties, and the FBI into the Citizen Police Service. The Citizen Police Service, of course. That's all we're going to be, of course, doing. So, of course, also, we're going to do a census. Right? So that census of the population is also going to be a grand strategy, part of the grand strategy, of course, of the total dominion, what we co-establish it. So we're going to do a census of the population, see who's been living here for the past 7 years, accord the amnesty, imperial citizenship, amnesty, or if you have been convicted of 44 criminality, 44 convictions in the past 11 years or 7, between 7 and more, 11 years, then we're not going to accord, we have to punish, and it's going to be the Imperial Dracula protocol, but nonetheless, the discernment of the justice, we can accord citizenship to those who have been living in Canada for the past 7 years, and of course, counterbalancing the left and the right in the middle, as I am a universal revolutionary centrist. My universal revolutionary centrist is North American centric, and we have to fuse Canada and the United States, and we have to finance mass healthcare with a compromise. Finance healthcare, finance fitness, via the establishment of the Dragon Public-Private Partnership Army and the corporation thereof, a cooperative corporation. The social safety net, and housing, food, housing, and shelter. We're going to also finance tourism. Every spring equinox, summer equinox, winter equinox. We're gonna finance citizens who are 16 and over travel anywhere across the 63 because it's not the greatest state, but preferably 13 states to add in the Imperial Republic, 63 of the 63. That's best. Oh, the sunset. That's best to do it, and my way to fuse Canada and United States via my universal revolutionary centrist public-private partnership, of course, also the concordiate of the total mobile defense theory, which I cannot discuss it too much because it's by national security sensitive, and I only mentioned the TMDD, total mobile defense theory. I only mentioned it slightly, but I have to discuss it with the highest ranking members of the security apparatus because it's by national security sensitive, so I cannot divulge too much information about it on YouTube, in the public platform. So certain things I have to keep secret and concealed